Thank you for joining us today and just speaking to the atmosphere on the Frontenacs. How has it been this year?
Yeah, it's been obviously like a great start for us. We were in first for a lot of it to start, and now we're in third, and we're still in a good spot. So I think this year, like, highly competitive team, and it's honestly been a lot of fun.
Has that affected the atmosphere in the locker room going down? Is it a little bit more of a we got to dig in and get it done, or?
Like a little bit. I think you're never satisfied with where you are, obviously, but I think if we just keep doing what we're doing, buckle down on some of these games, I think we'll be where we want to be.
What does that mean for your own personal work ethic? Do you have to go and make changes off the ice?
Not as much so. I feel like it's just kind of doing more of the same, like repeating stuff that was like successful before. So just kind of keeping doing the simple things, same things.
As a defenseman, do you find that you're challenged by having a very strong forward core on the team?
Yeah, for sure. I think like practice days, day in, day out, we're challenged by our forward group, and I think it helps all the D especially get a lot better and work on defensive skills.
We were already chatting about it, but what made you go and decide defense? That's where I want to be on the ice.
Like growing up, so like when I first started playing, my first year rep was when I was 6. I was actually a forward. And then ended up, my dad switched me to defense. He played defense growing up. So it was when I was super young. I was a forward, switched to D, ended up being pretty good at it, I guess, and then just stuck with it ever since.
Defense feels like a very underappreciated position where you have to go and be proactive to stop any high danger opportunities from arising for the other team. Have you found yourself in a lot of moments like that, and how do you stay calm, cool, and collected and see those opportunities before they take place?
Yeah, I feel like like you said, like, you got to be proactive. You got to read what's going on. Obviously, as a D, like some people say, you're kind of like the quarterback out there. You're behind, you can see everything happening. So yeah, just like we talked about, scanning, being proactive.
Have you noticed, especially ramping up from your transition into the OHL, you've had some time now to settle in. Was there any sort of big changes that you weren't really expecting?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think I played junior A, and then going from minor hockey, like, just the speed of the game and like just the little details. Like, people always touch on details, but I've learned so much about like defending in general and where to, like, for example, what way your skates are facing or how your stick's detailed. So just like stuff like that, I've learned like a ton since being here.
Head coach Troy Mann, have you noticed any sort of big changes in the system that he utilizes that's been able to elevate your gameplay?
Yeah, for sure. Like, he's really big on like defense first. He always says, like, once we get to the offensive zone, that's where the creativity starts. But from the blue line to our D zone, all the way back, it's defense first. You got to defend as hard as you can.
A strong foundation really makes or breaks a play.
Yeah.
And speaking of that foundation, you've already talked about your uprising. Was there any little bits of information that before you went into the OHL, you're like, wow, that's a little bit of a culture shock just in your own lifestyle, the way that your day-to-day works?
Yeah, I think like the coolest thing, like hearing about OHL, like when you grow up, like I grew up in Oshawa, Whitby area, so I went to like many Generals games growing up. So like just to hear like if you're playing in the league, like you're with like-minded people doing what you love every day, like I think that was like the coolest thing for me. You're playing hockey every day doing what you love. So
what is your current like favorite memory that you have in playing with the Frontenacs?
I think last year I would say for me it was probably just like playoffs. I know it wasn't like a long run, but I think just like gaining the experience of those games, like it's just such a fun time of year, and that's what everybody, the year builds toward playoffs. Like at the end of the day, you want to win, and I think that was like the coolest experience for me, was gaining some experience in those games.
You mentioned your dad already. He played defense. Now, I know that when I played, I used to play a lot of sports, and there was always that dreaded ride home after a game where you're like, now I know I did a lot of things wrong today. How involved was your dad in being able to elevate you to that next level?
Yeah, he was huge, like in my upbringing. Like obviously he had a little bit of junior experience growing up, and like my parents are super like easy on me growing up. Like I didn't have that like as much. So like car ride home, he is super like supportive. So he knows, like I know that like if I messed up, so he was great for that.
It's just like that. It's that look over, that nod, like, okay, I know what's going on here. You know what's going on here. Let's make it happen. And
yeah.
I think that really plays into the work ethic, and I think that speaks to your next steps. What are the next steps that you're working towards right now with the Frontenacs and beyond?
Yeah, I think like everyone that plays like at the junior level, you want to be able to get to the next level, and I feel like just continuing kind of what the coach has been preaching to me since I've been here. They've been super helpful in my game and helping me out. So just trying to get to the next level.
You said the creativity. We mentioned moving into the offensive zone. How do you go and build that? If I was a young player talking to you, looking at how you play on defense in that transitional game that can be so tricky to go and just find the right balance, how would you advise that young fan, that young player, on how to go and create those chances in the offensive zone?
Yeah, I think like creativity for me, like the biggest thing comes first, like for young people. I think the biggest thing like I learned when I got to junior was like watching hockey is like the biggest thing. Like being like you pick, like for me, like when I watch NHL games, I pick like 3 defensemen on each team that I want to watch specifically, like guys that I want to kind of replicate, do things. So I think the biggest thing, like advice I can give is like watching hockey. You can learn so much from it.
Anyone, any defensemen or even players in general that you've just constantly looked up to and go, yeah, that's who I'm working towards?
Yeah, for me, like growing up, I'm Leafs fan from Whitby area, so for me it was always Morgan Riley growing up. Like he's just a great defenseman, two-way guy. He's a complete package player.
I'm a fellow Leafs fan, so I can really appreciate that Riley's been amazing for the team and just being able to build. I think that with the team's current trajectory, you have the opportunity to see playoffs. Does that change your mindset where you're like, okay, it's not just about finishing the season strong, it's about making sure that I'm in tip-top condition for playoffs? And does that go and act as a way for you to elevate yourself, or how do you stop that from just being that little talking voice in the back of your head?
Yeah, like you said, like just being in that tip-top, like being ready for that. Obviously, I think everyone knows here that we want to go on a deep run and go for a run. So yeah, just being ready at all times, and I think it'll take care.
Can you speak a little bit to the leadership on the team?
Yeah, for sure. I think our leadership group's amazing. I think Burns, great captain. I think all the guys that wear letters, I think we have a good community, like of guys this year, and it's a really good room. So like everyone, I'd say we have a lot of leaders on the team, but yeah, leadership group's been great.
Are there any guys that you've met on the team that you've really had a chance to connect with?
Yeah, for me, like I would probably say my D partner, Malik McGowan. Like we're just super tight. Like I feel like the biggest thing like is a bonding off the ice, and like friendships off the ice as well builds chemistry onto the ice. So like guys like that. Had a guy last year, Jacob Holmes. He like kind of showed me like the ropes, I would say, is like my role model last year. So yeah, like guys like that.
Malik recently being injured, have you found that's shifted your game at all? Do you find that you need to step up into that more rushing role that Malik has been? He steps onto the ice, it's just fire and fury going right towards the net, and just the confidence he has. And you can see the way you're able to shift to go and cover anything you need. It's a really good mesh. But do you find yourself having to go and change and constantly be on your toes?
Yeah, for sure. I think like that last game that played with him out of the lineup, and then part of the Barrie game, I definitely had to step up, playing more minutes, and yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, like stepping up into a bigger role. So yeah.
Really looking forward to seeing what you can accomplish this year. It seems like you're just constantly reaching and getting to the next level, and continuing that foundation has been an incredible journey to watch.
Thank you so much.